Hey, hi YouTube. I hope you all guys are doing great. In this video, we are going to see conversation buffer memory. This video is basically a part of a playlist where we are going to conquer the whole memory uh, part in LangChain. So I guarantee you that this playlist will be one-stop solution for you to understand the memory in LangChain. So in case you have not accessed the playlist, please access it and just go through it. You will learn a lot of things. So let's see conversation buffer memory. So the conversation buffer memory in LangChain allows you to store and extract messages. You can save messages as key value pairs such as input and output messages. You can extract message as a string or as a list of messages, which is useful for chat models. The history of messages can be received in different formats based on your needs. Okay, so let's see how we can use it. So if you want to use conversation buffer memory, so it is inside this package called langchain.memory. So you have to import it like this. Now how we can use the memory. So memory is equals to conversation buffer memory. We are creating an object and then we can save context like memory.save context, and we are using an input and output. So this will be human message and this will be AI message. Now if you want to see the variables, which we have also seen in the previous video, memory.load variables. So we are passing an empty kind of because we are going to get a dictionary, so we are passing an empty dictionary. So this is how a memory looks like. But definitely it's very important to see how we can use this conversation buffer memory in the chains, and then we can also see how this conversation buffer memory behaves. Okay, so for using it, I'm using Hugging Face API tokens. So you can easily get Hugging Face API tokens. I have put the Hugging Face API token in my config file. So this is how you can access. Okay, so we are using conversation chain because we want to have some conversation, because we also need memory. Then this is for this Hugging Face endpoint is basically for using your Hugging Face models. And then we are using OS and config because I had added my API token in that config file. So this line os.involve Hugging Face API token, so is equals to config.Hugging Face API token. So here I have added my API token, and we are going to access this Google Fluent T5XXL model. So this is how you can access any kind of model in Hugging Face. Okay, now we are creating an object of conversation buffer memory, and we are naming it as memory1. We are creating a conversation chain, very basic chain. We are passing a LLM model verbose true because we want to see what is actually happening in under the hood. Then we are passing a memory, which is memory1. Okay, now if you, in this conversation chain, if we ask a question like who is Rafael Nadal, so it has created some prompt which is already there. Okay, so this is inbuilt prompt. So the following is a friendly conversation between a human and AI. The AI is talkative and provides a lot of specific details from its context, kind of thing. If you want to override this prompt, then you can also create your own prompt and pass it. I don't want to focus more on prompts, so that's why I have just I'm just relying on the base prompt that conversation chain uses. Okay, so here you can see current conversation. There is no conversation because this is the first question that we are asking. So human asked who is Rafael Nadal. Then here you can see this is the input. The history was nothing. There is nothing in the history. Okay, the memory key is this history. Okay, in the previous video, if you haven't seen, so we have I have explained you, like whenever you are creating this memory, you can also pass a memory key. If you are not passing any memory key, then it will be by default it is history. Then the response is Rafael Nadal is a Spanish professional tennis player. Then we are again asking a question to check whether it is stored in memory or not. So we are asking conversation chain.invoke. The input is can you tell his age. Okay, now here we are not asking explicitly that what is the age of Rafael Nadal. So from previous conversation, as we have asked about Rafael Nadal, so this question should depict internally that we are asking about Rafael Nadal age. So here you can see again the prompt is there, but now current conversation is there, like human who is Rafael Nadal, AI Rafael Nadal is a Spanish professional tennis player, because we got the answer from here. And then human, can you tell his age, and the AI has answered. So here you can say input is can you tell his age, and history. Now in history there is a string called human who is Rafael Nadal. Rafael Nadal is a Spanish professional tennis player. So we received a string. Okay, so in my previous video I have explained you that the memory is stored in the form of string by default, but we can also store it as a list. Okay, so you can watch that video how we can do it. Like some return message is equal to true, we have to do in the memory part. As a we have to pass it as a parameter, then the history will come in a list format. So sometimes we need even the history in a list format, so you can just watch that video. Then in response, it is giving Rafael Nadal is 32 years old. I don't know whether he is 32 years old or not. I think he's much older than this. I don't know. Okay, so it gave some response. Now again we are asking some questions like do you think he's a good player? So again in the conversation, now there are two conversations. Who is Rafael Nadal? Rafael Nadal is a Spanish, this one. Can you tell his age? 32. Now again we are asking, do you think he's a good player? So again we are not implicitly asking that do Rafael Nadal is a good player, or do you think Rafael Nadal is a good player? We are just adding he, so it should able to take the context from the previous question. So here again you can see in the history there are a lot of things like two conversations are there, and then we are getting the answer. Rafael Nadal is a two-time Grand Slam champion, so definitely he's a good player, definitely. Okay, so in memory one dot load memory variables. So this is how we can see what are the variables in the history. So in history you can see all the things are there, like all the three conversations are there. So this is how conversation buffer memory looks like. But have you observed something that in history all the messages are there? Okay, like if initially if I asked one question, so in history there was one question. If I asked two questions, in history there were completely two questions, two conversation. And if I asked third question, then in history there are three conversation, complete dialogue, like human and AI dialogues. Okay, so if we are having 10 conversations, the whole 10 conversation will be there in the history. If we are having hundreds of conversation, hundred of chats will be there. So don't you think this is a con for it? So definitely, like when there is like if you have limited resource, because we have limited memory in that case also, when we are passing to prompt, so every model has its limited input tokens. So that's why sometimes this kind of memory is not good. So let's see what are the pros and cons. So the conversation buffer memory in LangChain can be helpful in various chatbot and conversational AI applications like chat history management. Like it allows you to manage and access the history, which can be useful for logging, analysis, and understanding user interactions. Sometimes for context preservation, because here we have seen how the context is being preserved. So by storing the conversation context, it helps in maintaining continuity in conversation, enabling the chatbot to provide more relevant responses. Then training data generation, like the stored conversation can be used as training data for improving the chatbot performance through machine learning. Then personalization also, it can be provided by the memory part. By storing the user preferences and past interactions, it can enable the chatbot to personalize the response and recommendations. However, we can say there are some scenarios where using conversation buffer memory may not be ideal, like privacy concerns. Storing all conversation may raise privacy concerns, especially if sensitive information is involved. It is essential to handle and store data securely. Then performance impact, this is the most important one. Like storing and managing large amount of conversation data can have performance implications, especially in real-time applications. Then resource consumption, this is also very important. Like depending upon the implementation, storing conversation in memory can consume significant memory resources, which may not be suitable for resource constrained environment. And then data retention policies, like it is important to consider data retention policies and regulations when storing conversation, especially in regulated industries. Okay, so in summary, conversation buffer memory can be a powerful tool for managing and analyzing chat interactions, but it should be used very carefully, considered in terms of privacy, performance, and resource implications. So definitely this is not the most optimized memory. A lot of different memories are there, but definitely we should know it, and in some place it can be also useful. So that's it in conversation buffer memory. I hope you have enjoyed this video and you have learned something new. If yes, give this video a thumbs up, and please share, like, and subscribe to this channel, so that it gives a motivation to create a lot of more videos in LangChain. So that's it. Meet you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Thank you.